Well, look where we find ourselves, out and about in Cecily. This is what dreams are made of. So at the moment, conducting a test drive to see if the clutch work and the brake work and the other work has been successful or not. And it's also an opportunity to see how many times I can go, I'm going to be doing it quite a lot because the handling is awful. It's really bad. The steering's horrible. And I don't think it was this bad before, so I think that's going to be the tracking. Obviously, I haven't done wheel alignment. All I've got is my little rollover gauge, which I used on the BX, which is, well, that's alright, but I figured Phil would be able to just take it roughly as it was and get it seen to, but he's picking Cecily up tomorrow. Tomorrow Cecily is returning, or not returning, she's not been there. Cecily is heading to her new home, which is in Chelmsford somewhere, and I think, and yeah, he'll be taking it there. Now I'm going to have to do something about this tracking before he does, because I don't know if you can hear it, but it's getting tyre squeal doing that. I think it's towing in quite a bit, which is really irritating. But you know, such is life. Oh. A crossroads. I seem to remember the crossroads went the other way last time I came here. Or did GoPro's fallen off? Hello? Oh no, what's up? Hello? Yeah, so yesterday night went a little bit unplanned. I suppose most nights go unplanned, don't they? So I was in the middle of trying to test Cecily out to see how it was behaving. And I got a phone call from my wife to say she'd broken down and could I go and rescue her. Now obviously I was out in this, not in my car, well, which would have been the BX at the time, the Mark 1, so I had to go and rescue her. So Cecily to the rescue. And it was her throttle cable had snapped. She had no throttle cable at all. So yeah, that made for an interesting drive home because I had to wedge the throttle open at about 5,500 revs. So yeah, Cecily's being picked up later on today, around about, oh that's better isn't it, around about 11 o'clock. And I need to try and get her driving nicer than she is. She, it, he, whatever it is, I don't know. I don't name cars. I'm only calling it Cecily because Ian did, apart from the van, because that just kind of stuck. But see, but basically the front wheels on the car at the moment are towing in massively. They're trying to turn into each other. It's a bit like if you see two kids walking down the street side by side and one wants to go right and one wants to go left, but they're on the wrong side, so they just walk into each other and then push against each other in a sort of point. That's what Cecily's doing. Cecily's trying to turn into herself. So I've got to try and sort that out. Now that's going to be because I changed the track rod ends. I did wind them on the same number of turns as they were, but that is a flawed system. It doesn't work perfectly. It doesn't work anything like perfectly. So don't ever assume that you can just wind it, oh I took it off 5 turns, I'll put it back on 5 turns. It doesn't work like that. Unless you've got exactly the same component, exactly the same brand, a carbon copy of the one you had before, then that ain't gonna happen. There you go. Oh, Hollywood. We're doing 38. In fact, that's one of my pet peeves about this car, is the speedo. The dials. I'm one of these people, I read car magazines, I watch car reviews, and I can see people, oh, the layout's too complicated. The instrument cluster is messy, you know, and 9 times out of 10 I look at a dashboard and think, well, what's wrong with your eyes? Why can't you use that? It's fine. You know, I've never really driven a car and there's only 2 cars recently that I can say I've ever driven and thought, that's not very intuitive. And, you know, and I drive that old BX every day. And that got absolutely slammed for it back in the 80s. But yeah, one was a Mazda 3, 55 plates, were an 05 Mazda 3. The heater control was on that. No idea what they were doing. Don't know. I just pushed buttons until cold air came out. And the other one is this, the speedo. Only the speedo. Well, I'll say only the speedo. I think maybe the revs as well. They've got this point. So you've got, well, the numbers are odd for a start, which I suppose that's, in a way, that's good, because you've got a lot of roads in the UK that are 30 mile an hour and a lot of roads that are 70 mile an hour, but you also got a lot that are 60 and you've got a lot that are 40, but you've got no 60 or 40 on there because it's odd numbers only. Fine, not a problem. They probably thought it'll be too cluttered if we have all the numbers on there, so we'll just have odds or evens, pick it out of a hat, odds it is, fine, I get that. But the numbers, sorry, just squealing around another corner, the numbers, the digits on the speedo are indexed by a little round dot. So that's okay, so there's a round dot next to each number, so in between each number there is another dot, which is the same dot as the number that has the dot that's next to the number, and that's representing the missing even number. Okay, fine, yeah. But it's not on the same plane as the one, or plane, is that even the right word? It's not on the same radius, diameter, circumference. It's not on the same circle as the dots for the numbers. They're different, they're further back, so it's kind of like jaggedy. Okay, right. But then in between each of those you've got a dash, which is what you normally have. You normally have a dash. The dot isn't common. If they go with dots, fine, I'm on board, I get that, you want to go with dots, but they've got a dash, and the dash are in between each dot, so now you've got dashes indicating the 5 element. So I can see what 35 is, or 45, or 50. Who needs to do that in miles an hour? And I mean, it wouldn't bother me so much, you know, they would want to relay as much information as they can, but it's a mess, honestly. Your eyes don't know where to go. You're like, and then the rev counter's the same. The rev counter's got dots inboard of the number and then dashes in between them. It's a mess. It lights up well at night. We drove it last night at night, the first time I've ever driven a Citroën C5 at night, and I actually thought it was okay. It lights up well. It's quite a chilled car, as you would expect it to be. But one of the problems now with CECILY in particular, and I'm going to have to switch to my shades here because the sun's made an appearance. One of the issues now with CECILY is it's doing what the C5s I've always driven before do, and that is that when you pull away, the front end rises up really high for no reason and hangs around there for ages. It raises up and then hangs around until the end of time and then sinks back down again, especially when you pull away with the wheel turned. So if you pull out of a junction and you've got the wheel turned, as you quite often do, it's all, yeah, it's awful. It goes right up, and then because it goes right up, it feels awful. It feels like all the geometry just goes to pot. Everything, the steering feels rough, considering, you know, I've already got the wheels towing in too much as it is, so when it raises, that'll be even worse. And it's just horrible. I don't know, the V6 one I drove that I alluded to in the first video, that did that. That did that. That's what that did. And pulled away, and the front rose up in the air, and the steering absolutely awful. And so I'm thinking, well, what's causing that? I've driven Xantias that do it as well, and that's a different system, so it's got to be something that's common between the two that could cause it. I have noticed that Cecily is a bit confused at the moment anyway. I parked the car up earlier on to rig all the kit up, and the front end just sat there going up and down. A nod to my channel, obviously. I mean, it rides okay, it rides pretty well. Reassuring indicator noise. So we're right up in the air now, we're on stilts. The front end's on stilts, and when the front end goes on stilts, it causes another problem. And the other problem is that means the drive shafts are fully extended as well. Yeah, it means the drive shafts are running at an angle that they're not designed to run at. They're at a slight extreme angle. And that causes problems. It causes vibrations. See what I mean? It's just crashing over bumps because it's raised right up as I've come up, pulled away out the junction. The suspension's gone hard. I don't know what is going on with it. The clutch, from a single versus dual mass standpoint, the clutch is spot on. It's brilliant. Honestly, it's a result. It's the engine is just as smooth. The gear changes are so easy. The pedal is so light. It's far lighter than in my BX. I got into the BX Mark 1, and the pedal's twice as heavy in that now. Whereas in this before, it wasn't that light. It wasn't horrendous. It was never horrendous, but the brakes took a while to wake up. The brakes a little bit mushy, but they are slowly coming to life. I mean, that is kind of standard. That is par for the course. Brakes can sometimes take a little while to bed in. And if I sort the handling out, that's on me. I'm not going to blame the car for that. I'm going to just have to take it back, put it on the rollover gauges and get it somewhere approaching zero, and just give it back to him like that and say you need to take it and get it done properly by someone who's got proper four-wheel kit. And the other thing that's annoying about it is the gear changes, and my wife found this when she drove it yesterday, is that you can't just go to the top gear. Like the cars I've got, other cars I've driven and stuff, you can get, you're doing 30 mile an hour, you can get into top gear and just ride it from that point. Whereas this, you can't even get into fourth. And up goes the front end again. Oh. See, my wife kept saying how slow this car was, and it isn't fast, but I mean, if it would be ideal if there was a way of just knowing how fast it was, because sometimes feel and sort of opinion and everything is subjective, and you could you could really do with knowing some kind of benchmark, some kind of line in the sand. But sorry, there's something in the seat. What's that? Oh look, it's my little box. Yay! I shall race you, Cecily. Kind of. Wonder if we can do 0 to 60 here. It's a very... I think this is downhill. We'll try it. Are we ready? We're only gonna get one run. Oh! Come on, Cecily. There we go. Let's pull to one side so we can observe together. Well, you can't observe, you'll just have to listen to me, but... Right. Cecily managed 0 to 60 in 14.1 seconds. Yeah, so in conclusion, what have we learned? We've learned that I don't really like C5 still, and we've learned that if you make the wheels toe in on the front of a C5, it will squeal all the time. That gentleman's learned where Hambledon is, and yeah, hopefully Phil will be happy with Cecily. I'm just racking my brain there trying to think if the fact it's towing in would make the suspension rise, which is just, well, that is a hell of a straw to clutch onto. You can't go into fourth. Look, I'm doing 35. I know I'm doing 35 because it's on the dash, and I've got to leave it in third. If I put it in fourth, it just, all the guts fall out of it. Oh, there's a Datsun, whatever that is. I want to see that. That's why I've let him go. Oh, it's got the exhausts that go up, and you're filming it as well. You can see it on the GoPro. Oh, I can smell it too. It's got the exhausts that sit one above the other. Is it a 240Z? I don't know my Datsuns very well. I do really like those. They're really pretty cars. What do they call them? 432s, isn't it? Datsun 240Z 432, because it's 4 valves per cylinder, 3 carburettor, 2 camshafts. Ports downhill, the view north. And there are birds. Are they ravens? Crows? I don't know. Bird. Here you go. Can't see anything here. Who needs sunglasses? Well, that's something at least. Cecily has stopped bobbing up and down when it's parked up. Bonus round. I've just found the cause of the flapping, rattling noise, which is not the undertray. I thought the undertray might need more reinforcement, but it's not. I'll wait for this car to go by, then I'll show you. When you drive down the road about 50, that does that. But worse. Bye, Cecily. See you in, well, probably in a month at a Citroën show. Dramatic.